about about Dennis. I know he hadn't played much recently, but what's the impact of losing him on the team, and then also an update on JJ and Trey.
Obviously, love Dennis, but out of respect for his privacy, um, can't really elaborate a lot on it. But really, really love the kid. And as far as JJ and Trey, day to day, Emmanuel, day to day, hoping they come back. The next 24 hours are crucial. So we're working really hard to get them healthy to where they can give us a lift.
Kenny, what have you missed with JJ being out?
Great question. It's funny that you asked that question now. But anytime you miss a guy that's been in this program 3 or 4 years, uh, he brings experience. He brings knowledge of what's going on against other teams and also what's going on with this team. Um, he averages 10 points, 5 rebounds, but there were games where he was better than that. His influence on this team is vital to this team. And we've been going to war without him, hoping and praying that he comes back sooner than later. Glad to see him, get to the point where he can do stuff on the floor, work out, and hopefully he gives us a spark when he does come back.
Can you just going back to Dennis really quickly? It seemed like that everyone here on the team really loved being around him, and that he was just that loved being here as well. If you could just give us just a bit of information about how the team took the news that he's not going to be cleared to play here anymore.
Again, I understand your question, but I gotta respect Dennis and his privacy. Obviously, if I'm saying I love Dennis, you can imagine what his teammates feel about Dennis. So that's the extent of what we're gonna say about it.
Kenny, you've talked about the margin for error being small with this team and with the group. When you get one injury, it's one thing, 2, 3, 4, it leads up. How have the other guys mentally, how have you dealt with that with those guys? Because you put more on other guys when you don't have them.
I try to have a philosophy of next man up. We're playing very good teams. And to be honest with you, I need dudes to max out. I need dudes to have special nights to lift their team up, not just to be average or just good enough. You have to, in certain cases, you have to dominate your position, and I always say in one more. So dominate your position and I'll play another one for the next man. It's unfortunate, but it's what the game is. Injuries are a part of this game, and that's why you have a roster, and the next player got to stand up and produce.
What did you think of Jovanovic's performance the other night, and also your thoughts on he and Okorafor going forward now?
I thought, my first thing how I would answer that is I asked D'Lo, how do you feel you played? Are you better than what you played? KP, I'm a lot better than what I played. Okay, I believe that. You did some good things, but you also defensively had some lapses. We need to cure that up. We need to shore that up. We need to make sure that you're on the floor, you understand what your role is, what your job is, and you play with confidence and you play comfortable. Emmanuel the same. I need Emmanuel to come in and rebound, bring a physicality to the game, and we need his size. A lot of times in the Virginia game, you look at it, we're inside position, and because they're bigger, they come up with the ball.
Kenny, with some of the things that have happened that are kind of out of your control, like with Dennis's situation, do you ever feel like snake bit? Like, do you ever just come in like it's Murphy's Law and you seem to stay positive, but how?
Good question. To be honest with you, I think you have to believe in what you're doing. And you have to know that the kids are capable of doing what you're asking them to do. Obviously, there are going to be things out of your control that's going to happen. That's called life. And what I'm trying to teach to young people is life. We're masquerading it as basketball, but it's really life. There are things that are not going to fall your way at times. In the old days, I say the old days, but I grew up believing that nothing ever happens great first. We're building a program brick by brick. So there's going to be some rocky roads. I'm good with that. There are going to be rocky days. I'm good with that. How do we respond to it? How do we fight through it? How do we keep believing in what we're doing? That's the most important thing for me. Hopefully that answers the question.
I guess, Kenny, I was going to ask that, but I guess in terms of a follow, has there been times at all this season where it's maybe been tougher than last year, especially because of, you recruited some of these guys in and just the ebbs and flows that's come with it?
Hard to say that if it's been tougher than last year. For me, it's been about day by day figuring out how do I get them to understand winning basketball. Day by day, we're a very young team. How do I get them to understand what this program is, what it's been traditionally? How do I get them to understand that how vital they are to each other? Guys, I can't overstate that. One player, two players can't do this alone. It's going to take every single guy that has a jersey on his back to come in and give us something every single day, give us something positive. And for the younger guys, for them to learn, they're getting a vital, vital education on college basketball at a high level. And they have to learn on the fly, and they have to come in every day and digest what they're learning and try to get better at it every day.
As far as your matchup with Pitt tomorrow, both of you guys looking for their first win in ACC play. They play pretty efficient defensively, and your offense hasn't quite put it together yet. So what does the preparation look like for a matchup like this?
Well, first of all, you hit it on the head. We both need wins bad. They're a unique team in the fact that they're going to shoot right at 33s a game, probably try to get 30. They're very good in isolation ball. They're very good in transition. They make nine threes a game. They average 15 assists a game. They're a good team. They're a well-coached team, and they fight. They're scrappy. We have to match their energy. We have to surpass their energy if we want to win. It's not going to be easy, but we're capable of beating them.
Kind of to follow up on how the players are mentally taking the losses to the roster, as well as the building losses. You bring up a lot of questions about how are they, do they understand the magnitude of what's in front of them and stuff. Are you starting to get some of those answers? Are you seeing guys kind of like, okay, the light bulb may be going on, or you think there's still a lot to be learned?
Well, when you look at the way that we look at it as a staff, we break down the games. And when you break down a game and you see, okay, you take the emotions out of what you just experienced the game, right? So the game is over and you got what you thought the game was. So, for example, Virginia, initially I thought we played pretty good basketball for 12 minutes. Well, when I went through the game and looked at it, it was more like 15, 16 minutes that we were pretty decent. Well, what happened? Over a 2 or 3 minute period, it went from 8 to 10 to 17. Why did that happen? And you show them why it happened. Most of the time, it's a common theme. Turnovers, bad shots, lack of defensive intensity or attention to detail, or rebounding. So we have to shore up those things, and hopefully we can lessen that moment of a bad spell. Instead of 3 minutes, maybe it's 2 bad plays instead of 5. And learn from that, because those momentum changes, if they're that big, it's hard to recover.
Kenny, I imagine in October you thought this team would be a lot deeper than kind of how everything has worked out. Do you have to live with mistakes now because you don't have maybe some of that luxury now?
Good question. I try not to live with the mistakes. I address them. But the reality of it is, when you're so short-handed, you have to find a different way. The bench isn't always the motivating factor, and that's how we deal with it.
Just going back to the defense, it seemed like Wednesday that there was a lot of trouble closing out on threes, and you spoke to Pitt taking about 30 a game. Just how much of how much are you stressing that I'm heading into this game, just trying to get guys to close out with just, just having more like intensity in that aspect.
We have to contest shots. We have to keep the ball in front. We can't give them open threes. But the end part of that, the finished product of that, is finish the possession. If a team is shooting 33s, they're going to be long rebounds. That means guards have to come back in, and all five have to rebound. It can't be just 2 or 3 big guys. It has to be all 5. Guards and wings have to crash the glass, and we got to get out and run.
I was going to ask you about Pitt's rebounding. Lead the league in rebounding. What do they do that sets them apart, do you think?
Well, offensive rebounding, from what I've seen so far in the 3 games that I watched, consistently they have 2 or 3 guys that go to the glass every single possession, and they go hard. So that creates a situation where you cannot ever ball watch. So the ball goes up, they shoot it, and you go to look up at the ball, somebody's crashing. You have to go find a body. And if we can do that, and if we can do that consistently, we got a fighting chance. Rebounding will be a major key to the win of this game.
Kenny, as the bench gets shorter, Caleb's minutes have gotten more. I don't know that you thought that at the beginning of the year, kind of maybe trying to bring him along. What has he done good, and what does he still need to kind of work on now that he's probably going to be getting more as the year goes on?
Well, he's learning on the fly. The thing that we know that he does well is rebound. We need him to be a little sharper and know exactly what we're doing on the offensive end. The unfortunate situation is, now we are playing him at some 5, and he's 6'5", 6'6". So he has to make that adjustment. Like I say all the time when I tell you guys, I wish I had 7 Mike James. Mike James does not care what position he's playing. He just wants to be on the floor and help his team win. Caleb now is having to be in that role, and he has to come in and help us with energy, fight, defense, and rebounding the ball.
Kenny, some of the issues you described sound a little similar to the ones from last year in terms of the fight, things of that nature. How do you think you and the staff try to adjust, or how much do you talk about adjusting whatever it is you're doing to better connect with them to get that message across?
Well, it's constant. Again, you're talking about, a very young team, first time being together, and the reality of it is they don't all the time play hard, and we need them to continue to fight harder and play better for longer stretches. When we do, we're competitive. When we don't, teams separate from us. We show them on film, we talk about it, we do a bunch of stuff individually, sitting down with players, we do it in groups. Everything that we can do as a staff and as a coach, as a mentor, we try to address it. We do not ever want to leave anything unsaid that needs to be said, because the reality of it is, if we can get them to get over the hump, then maybe they never look back at it, if that makes sense. Once you get it, grab it, you never look back at what happened before. You got it, you move on, and you're a better player for it, and we're a better team.
Yeah, you said after the game Wednesday that Brandon provided, some instant offense, but it seemed like he didn't get enough touches there for stretches of the game. When you look back at the film, just are there ways to do better of just making sure he gets the ball in the post, or is that something that you're dealing with because of like the matchup against Virginia and just the way that they play defense?
Well, Virginia did something that's the ultimate form of respect, and they trapped him every single time. Pretty much, he caught it in the post, and so he created opportunities for us. The other thing that he did that was very good, that we should have capitalized on more, obviously throwing it to the post, they trap him, he dribbles out, we find open people on the other side, but also in ball screens, they hard showed, and he popped out and he caught the ball on the perimeter, and he made passes out of that. That's the sign of a growing young player, or a growing player that's not just a post player. Brandon is unique in the fact that he can really pass the ball, he can put it on the floor, and he's been in college 3 years. So he has experience now, and we're seeing the beginning stages of him blossoming into the player that we need him to be. Right.